singing some Morris Society songs and danced their dances as they did long before we had power. So what you see here is something that predates the coming of the white man, and it's something that we treasure as Crow people because it's our very own, and we did not get it from anyone else. If you look all across the United States, Canada, and in fact the world, you will never see this ceremony done anywhere else.
If you look at the history books, if you look at how the Native American was treated, how the attempts of just completely wiping out the Native American. In the east, the coast areas, and especially the east coast, they're gone. There's no more of certain tribes. They're completely wiped out. So as this influx of manifest destiny, the doctrine used to come and take the land, the government realizes a big undertaking to completely eliminate this race. A lot of massacres on these different plains Indians. So by the time they got here, they realized that there's Native Americans from Canada all the way down to Mexico. They realized that if we all unified, they didn't have a chance. So they started doing these friendship treaties, trying to keep peace. The Crow men were antsy to get back to the old way of life instead of being corralled on the reservation. So they didn't want that uprising, so they encouraged these activities, these powwows, these horse racing, the things that we use for entertainment. So all that attempts to exterminate and just totally eliminate, and it all failed. And look at this, we're still here and we're still celebrating, and it's still growing, and it just gets bigger and bigger every year. Some powwows you go to, they have like me a teepee at the entrance, but nowhere in the world will you ever see the collection of teepees in one setting, in one area. We average about 1,500 teepees. And that's the thing I want people to come and see, not just the powwow, rodeo and whatever, it's just the teepees. It makes me feel proud that to be a Crow or Native American when people see this. It shows that we're resilient and we're still here. It's just as strong.
You know, when I was in high school, I would see these guys that I would look up to, and he would graduate and leave for whether it's sports, military, or just what have you. But within a couple months, they'd be back on the reservation. Very few people can leave the res and handle being away from home. It's homesickness, it's loneliness. You're out there alone. When I was in LA, you see groups of Mexicans, blacks, Asian, Jewish. You see a Native American, he's by himself. Don't really see a group of Native Americans at the mall in Los Angeles. I was always by myself.
My son left to make a living out there in LA, but what he misses is the family. And that's the big pull for him to come back home. For me to push him and have him make something out of his life, but yet I miss him so bad, I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want him to come back, but when he was here, I was so happy because I got my little partner here now. Now he's always there if I need help. Being collective as Native Americans, we watch out for each other, even the kids. If there's something not right, we intervene and take care of it. So we watch out for each other. That's why I call Crow Fair a family reunion. It is a family unit. We all, on the whole reservation, we all get together in this one spot once a year. I kind of live for Crow Fair. I kind of look forward to it. It's camping out, visiting friends. It's one of my happiest times in my life. I am Calvin Coolidge Jefferson III. You see these last names. Morning, it's shortened from fog in the morning. It's shortened for convenience, for any documentation. White hip, and it's actually shortened from one who rides the white hip horse. Jefferson is shortened from one who likes to watch Jeffersons on TV. Jefferson is actually a boarding school name.
The Jesuits came onto our reservation and established boarding schools, taking the kids and chopped their braids off and giving them names. A great-grandfather of mine was Thomas Jefferson, and where he came from was, their last name was Fire Bear.
When our forefathers were forced to go to boarding schools, they had translators for the school records, but they couldn't translate Fire Bear. So what they do? They just grab names for the school records. Once we got that name, we just kept it. But it is a boarding school name.
Very few full-blooded Crows nowadays, you know. In my generation, we still speak the language. Next generation, they speak the language. Then the next generation is speaking English. Like my grandson here, he understands Crow. We can speak Crow to him, he understands it, but he won't speak it.
Every year that I've been putting up this flag for my son, he's actually a combat veteran. He served 1 year combat status in Iraq. And his name in Crow is actually Amajia Chilish, and it looks for war. So it's just so fitting when he was actually in combat. The military is kind of a big thing to feed that gene of the warrior gene. Back then, the Crows, the men, they developed a strong protective gene to protect the different tribes. There's a peak in actually Native American enlistment during wartime, voluntarily going and enlisting, because there's a strong need for that, to satisfy that protective gene that has been developed.
I was in the middle of Iraq fighting a war at the age of 19. I went in for a diesel mechanic, working on tanks, working on Humvees, and I was like, this is a piece of cake. Let's do this. Let's do 20 years, retire, and that's it. I can retire at 38. But after Iraq, man, war changes you. War changes you. People always say, like, how do you have PTSD when you're a mechanic? Even though we worked in the motor pool, if there was a car that was blown up or broken down out in the hot zone, we had to go after it. And this was almost like every other day we had to go out. After the war, when I got back to the States, I'm like, I'm out. That's it. I'm gonna get my discharge papers, I'm gonna go to college.
When we do a grand entry, we honor the United States flag. We put up there's a tribal flag and other flags, district flags or clan flags or whatever, but we always see an American flag. Even though the things they did to the Native Americans is just appalling. Really, really sad of the history, the treatment of Native Americans. And you see us putting up the flag, honoring the American flag. And it's Crows, we use that to honor the veterans.
I think I was like 6 years old when I first started dancing. This is a war shirt. Only war veterans get to wear this kind of shirt. These were originally scalps. So back in the day, Chief would put his scalps up.
I'd like to introduce these veterans, the one that keep our freedom, our way of life, which we enjoy today. Sometimes we take it for granted. These soldiers that kept our freedom serve honorably in the military. I want you to take one step forward as I introduce you. Barry Glynn, Army. Give him a hand. Woo! Carrying the American flag, Jesse Oakgrove. Marine. Tyler Wilbur, Army, Crow. Dylan Jefferson, Army, Crow. Also, Josie Porter, Air Force, Crow. Wave your hand.
We used to sit around the table and we used to cut meat to dry. And we all sit there cutting meat together and just talking and just conversing. And I miss those days. I miss, because that doesn't, we don't do that often. And a lot of the Crow ways I've learned from my grandparents. My siblings and I, we would always be dropped off at my grandparents' house from the time I was a baby, toddler, into my school years. We did a lot of things with my grandparents, and if I hadn't spent time with them, I probably wouldn't know my language. Now times have changed. And
we don't visit.
And we don't visit each other anymore. We don't go into people's homes anymore. And that language, that was how we learned the language. Nowadays, parents are working and the children are going to daycare where there is no language there.
I know my Grandma Joy, when she was alive, she was amazing at beadwork. She would stay up all night and just sit at the table and bead and smoking her cigarette and just beading away. And she made outfits after outfits. And right now I know she's getting mad at me in heaven because I'm sitting in the car and beading, and usually you're just supposed to sit at the table and bead. I'm really happy that I learned.
We have our culture, we have our traditions, we have some of the old ways that we still practice, but times have changed.
One day we're going to be gone and they'll pick up where we left off.
Nation, are you out there? Here is your cowboy getting one started here, teepee capital of the world.
Watch them as they come in. Alligator Creek is in great position. Wolf Mountain Express with J. Riobo comes in. The exchange is going to make the difference. J. Riobo, here they come. It is PG Nomi, J. Riobo, Alligator Express, Wolf Mountain Express, followed by Lodge Crow Express. Mountain Crow is in fourth. And in fifth, it is going to be Two Leggings with Two Nations is also in the hunt. Around the turn they go. It is a close race, and I believe it is going to be out of the Crow Indian Reservation. Miles Murray, outstanding job. Holy
The reservation, we're a impoverished tribe. We're not one of these casino-rich tribes where sometimes each member gets an extreme amount of the royalty. Here, we get maybe average $200 every quarter. It would be a Crow Fair, Christmas, and in the spring. We average about $200. This year we got $250. That's per capita. When you're in a impoverished state, then you have dysfunction. You have drugs and alcohol that comes in. If you only got about $10,000 a year and trying to raise a family of 5, then you have to rely on other stuff, government, food stamps, whatever, just to get by. There's not much employment on the reservation. The only way we get by is to help each other. We've been doing that since day one. We see homes, you go around the reservation, you see these houses. Sometimes there's 4 or 5 families living in there. it's tough to get housing through. The tribe doesn't have enough resources, money to build housing.
Or
repair them. Some of them, they have wait for years and years as a waiting list just to get their houses repaired. And they're just in shambles. I envy, even these houses that are worn down and everything, I envy them because I don't have a house. When I share that with people and they're like, why'd you move out? And I said, wow, man, why do I want to move out when you're treated better on a reservation than going outside? When you go outside a reservation, you deal with this bigotry, racism, stereotypical prejudgment. And right away they think I'm non-educated. I don't speak English, or I'm a druggie, I'm an alcoholic, I'm stupid. It just happens. And when I go try to buy tires or do business somewhere or buy a car or something, they treat me like I'm wasting their time. Some of them come in and I'm invisible. They come in and they shake all the white guys, hands, and they just kind of, they don't come shake my hand. To tell you the truth, sometimes I go by myself and cry because I can't handle it anymore. Sometimes I come on strong, but I have feelings. I don't treat me like a dog. Treat me like a human being. It hurts. It really hurts. We're good people. Our culture, our clan system is based on respect. Come and visit the Crows, the Cheyenne, the Sioux, the Navajo, the Zuni, the Apache, the Assiniboine, Cree, Yakima. Guarantee they'll treat you nice, and you'll be friends forever, and they got your back. I love it. It's beautiful being part of something. I don't have an identity crisis. My identity is here. This is me. This is the Crows.